I'm going to show you the best products for your leopard gecko from PetSmart. Let's talk about the Thrive Front Opening Essential Desert Kit. Now we're talking about the 40-gallon here, not any of the smaller ones. I wouldn't even bother with that. I see a lot of people buying a 10-gallon for a leopard gecko and then never upgrading. When you're keeping an adult leopard gecko in that small of a space, it's just not a good idea. Why do that when you can raise one in a 40-gallon easily and just get them their lifetime size enclosure from the start? Please do that. There's no point in buying anything less in my opinion. This kit includes the Arcadia 100-watt basking lamp, the Thrive 23-watt 10.0 coil bulb, two 8.5-inch dome lamps. There are two thermometer/hydrometer combos. There's a basking hide, and then there's like some carpet, and then a food and a water bowl. In terms of size, it's the minimum size that I would put a leopard gecko in. Now, that compact UV that comes with this kit is not strong enough. Not only are those bulbs really weak, but the Thrive mesh actually blocks out 60 to 65% of light going through it, so it even worsens the situation. So basically your leopard gecko would struggle to receive much of anything really. What I would do is take that away and keep it to the side in an emergency if you'd have to go back to it as a bare bone basics. What I would do is add the Reptiles 10.0 T8 lamp in its fixture onto one side next to the heat lamp over that hide, the decor climbing hide thing, so there's a light area, a sunlight area, and a shaded end. Then what your leopard gecko can do is if it wants to get warmer and get higher UV amounts, it can climb up, or if it wants less, it can go down. The basking spot can be fine. 100 watts in that small of an enclosure seems a bit excessive, but as long as the surface temperatures of that basking spot are around sort of like 86, then you'll be okay. If you're finding that it's getting way too hot and that hide is just getting to the blistering hot temperatures, then I would go out and buy a new heat bulb at like a lower wattage, say like a 50 watt or a 35 watt or something like that. What I would do is place a thermometer in a shaded area so that there isn't light on it, increasing its reading above the air temperature and giving you a false reading. Have it in the shade so it's actually measuring the air temperature, and then you'll be golden. You want your ambient air temperature during the day to be anywhere from sort of like 75 to 79 Fahrenheit. And then when all the lights go off at night, you can allow it to drop into the low 60s. Absolutely fine. These guys hibernate in the wild. I know a friend who keeps one in his garage and he allows it to hibernate at like 5 degrees Celsius, which is 41 Fahrenheit. So they can go as low as that. I wouldn't push them towards that on a regular basis, but allowing your leopard gecko to go down to the low 60s is no problem. That reptile carpet stuff, just throw it in the bin. It's just crap. Just throw it in the bin. You want a decent, loose substrate that isn't harsh on your leopard gecko's claws and allows your leopard gecko to dig. I would actually recommend the Zoomed Reptisoil. Now, many people actually mistake leopard geckos for being this strictly arid animal that lives in this desert and nowhere else and it needs to have a bone-dry environment. Well, that simply isn't strictly true. Leopard geckos have quite a large range and they occur in a vast variety of habitats. They're also found in moist pine forests. So it doesn't need to be this bone-dry environment, and often people have them in bone-dry environments and they wonder why they're constantly in the humid hides. At certain times, the leopard gecko might feel like it's just too dry. So giving them that naturally moist Reptisoil with a screen top like in this enclosure, that humidity would settle naturally over time anyway. Humidity around 50% will be absolutely fine. To be honest, I don't really worry about humidity with leopard geckos. They often find little holes in the wild to be in, and the humidity is going to be very high in those holes. As long as the environment isn't constantly wet, like physically to the touch, and that it's not a sweaty environment for bacteria to breed, I would not even worry. I mean, like in this room is sitting at like 70% humidity right now, but everything like around me is bone dry. So there's a difference between wetness and just relative humidity in the air. Humidity isn't a problem if they have good ventilation and the environment is dry, and the leopard gecko has the opportunity to be dry as well. But a deep substrate will be there for them and they will love it. It will allow them to dig down into it to find that humid microclimate pocket to get down to if they want. I would also give them a humidhide, and that's a hide stuffed with a bit of wet sphagnum moss. Any sort of hide with an entrance hole, or it can be a plastic tub that you've made, your choice. As long as you provide some way for your leopard gecko to access a sort of like humid burrow for them to use, especially at times of shedding, that's great for leopard gecko. So if you had a deep substrate that allows them to do that naturally, as well as having that hide that is stuffed with sphagnum moss, your leopard gecko can regulate what they want at any point in time. Then you're going to want to clutter this enclosure with lots more decorations than obviously is provided in this bare bones tank. Lots of little log piles, lots of clutter, leaf litter, things like that, to make your leopard gecko have lots of different lines of sight barriers to block off things looking at them, to make them feel they're in like the understory of like bushes and stuff, to make them feel secure. I would buy the Repticalcium without D3 and then dust that on your bugs every time you feed your leopard gecko. And then once every week to 2 weeks, I would dust one feeding of bugs with ZoomEd's Reptivite D3 multivitamin powder, and that's your diet pretty much good to go. You're not limited to this size of tank. By all means, go bigger, and I hope you do. I have plans to put a leopard gecko in like a 6 foot or 5 foot or something big. The Zilla quick build terrarium would be a lovely size for a leopard gecko. It's 48 inches by 18 by 18. Luckily, you'll be able to transfer all your like heating and lighting over to that new tank, no problem. It'd be a straight upgrade for them. That's the sort of size of tank that would make any leopard gecko owner very proud. These guys are going to live like 25 years, so let's invest in them properly, let's do it right, and let's give them that life that's truly worth living. There are many other guides on this channel, so go check them out, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next video.